All this story would begin on the planet Vegeta. Bardock and Genie would have a son they would call Kakarot. They would be surprised, because despite being low class, their son would have a power between 200 and 300. Kakarot would spend 3 years in the incubator, until Bardock became suspicious of the plans of the evil emperor, Frieza. He would talk to his wife, Gine, to send their son to a safer planet called Earth. At that time, his brother Raditz would find himself on another planet with Vegeta on a mission. Thus, the planet would be destroyed. Meanwhile, Kakarot would be on Earth misbehaving. But thanks to Grandpa Gohan's experience in martial arts, he would manage to control Goku's bad behavior a little. Time would pass until that day when Goku fell off a cliff. Unlike the original story, Grandpa Gohan would manage to catch Goku and save him in time. Goku would grow up and continue to misbehave until he was 5 years old. Being more strategic in martial arts, he would decide to kill Grandpa Gohan, being inferior to him. Although we know that Jean, she was a good-hearted Saiyan, not even Raditz retained that personality. And for something the blow Goku took to his head in the original story made him the way he is. Continuing with the story, Goku would continue training and would also see how the full moon lost control of his consciousness, to which the following times he would try not to give up until he managed to perfect the control of the transformation into Uzuru. After a few attempts, he finally managed to control the transformation, and so a few years would pass until he turned 7 years old. Goku would start attacking cities by transforming into Uzaru, and at dawn, he would pretend to be one of the survivors and give fame to a supposed monster he would decide to face. After a few attacks, a guy would tell him about Korin Tower, and that if he managed to climb it, he would become much stronger. Goku, interested, would head that way and easily climb Korin Tower, just as the cat would know who he is by seeing his actions. Goku would make his attempt to take the water from her. At first, he would have difficulty until by his intelligence, he would try to mimic her movements and take the water from her, where he would then decide to kill him. Of course, before his death, Korin would also give him a hermit seed. Before Goku would tire of his effort to take the water from him, Goku would keep some seeds in a bag while he decided to investigate the tower further. He would discover the water of the gods, which he would manage to drink and go unconscious until the next day, waking up with a superior power that would hover around 600. Quite a lot for a 7-year-old high-class Saiyan who has yet to go through some dangerous missions. But well, he would get bored of not finding a good opponent, so he would return to Mount Paozu to start training until the age of 10. Having already a power over 800, he would decide to attack cities without becoming Ozaru, and in one of those days, Master Roshi would arrive to fight against him, and he would use his power at 100% when he saw that fighting normally did not do any damage to Goku. Even so, Goku would be far beyond his power, and Roshi, with no other option, decides to charge a Kamehameha to its maximum power, which Goku, very confident, would receive and would barely manage to make a few holes in his clothes. So he imitates Roshi's technique and kills him, considering him a disappointment, but better than other humans. So this one would decide to keep killing people until Master Tsuru would be interested in him and want him to be his disciple, telling him that he was Roshi's enemy. Goku would pretend friendship to accept and see if he can learn something from him. Having Tenshinhan and Chiaotzu as his partners, Goku would learn to fly and do the Dodamba. After a year of training, Goku would reveal himself to them and start a fight in Chiaotzu, and Tsuru would die. While Tenshinhan would decide to give it his all with the Kikoho, which would not affect Goku. Upon seeing the Kikoho, Goku decides to imitate it and kills Tenshinhan as well, feeling invincible and continuing to kill people. After another year, Goku would find himself on Mount Paozu, where Bulma would arrive looking for the sphere found there. She would be frightened to see Goku, as he would have been on the news being witnessed by the cameras. Goku would think of killing her for interrupting the place where he was, but Bulma would blurt out information about the dragon spheres and the one in the house. Goku, interested, asks her to tell him what she knows, and he will leave her alive. Bulma agrees and gives him the information. Goku tells her that he will help her gather them, but first Bulma decides to give him a disguise so that no one will recognize him, since Goku had been on TV, and she didn't want people to start looking at her badly. Goku would just listen and put on the disguise. They begin their journey, detecting the sphere in the Kambi house, from which Goku flies out. They then get the sphere in a village where Oolong kidnaps the girls, as he would have attacked the village earlier. They also visit Ox King and Chi-Chi, where Goku puts out a fire with an energy expulsion. Goku and Bulma leave, but Goku also wishes to return to the place as he smells a good meal and sees a beautiful girl his age, something that confuses him a bit. But he would eventually arrive to snatch the spheres from Pilaf's gang, who luckily manages to survive as he recognizes Goku. Goku calls Shenron to think about asking him for immortality, but for the moment he decides to grant Bulma's wish so as not to arouse suspicion and make the wish another time. As for Yamcha, he is about to die against Goku in the desert, but Goku drops a seed near him, and Yamcha, without hesitation, eats it as he is hungry. Goku learns that he would have to wait a year to collect the spheres again, so he asks Bulma for a copy of the radar, threatening to kill her if he doesn't. Bulma, frightened, agrees, and they leave for the Capsule Corporation, where Goku obviously disguises himself so as not to be recognized and then leaves. Goku is aware that he is a Saiyan, so he would mention it to Bulma, as he felt a bit of a connection with her. Bulma would remember that Jakku was looking for a Saiyan that was about to land on Earth, but failed when he urinated on his sister and she pushed him away. Even if Bulma thought to call him, she would fear he would lose his life, so Bulma would at least think she could change by leaving her alive. Goku would continue to train, even though no Earthling could compare to his level, and would suddenly pay a visit to Chi-Chi, who would fear his presence and fight Ox King, stopping him with ease. Goku would tell them that he is curious to know who cooks, to which Chi-Chi would say herself. The latter is surprised and tells them that she will let them live if they prepare a delicious dish for her. But if they escape and reveal that Goku was there, he would kill them himself, so they would both decide to keep it hidden, while Goku begins to feel some affection for the girl. A year would pass, and Goku would start collecting the spheres. On the other hand, Krillin and Yamcha had become friends, and would train even without having a master to help them. Goku would encounter the Red Patrol and kill General Silver, as well as reach the Red Patrol Tower, killing most of them, except for Generals Red and Black, who would manage to escape while Goku is distracted by confronting Buyon, where Goku would break through the wall to freeze him and then throw a Kamehameha at him. Goku, using radar, would detect the sphere at the Red Patrol base, but the radar would have broken down, so he would turn to Bulma to repair it. So Goku and Bulma would meet again, and he would ask Bulma to repair his radar, to which she would agree. Meanwhile, in the Red Patrol, they would have hired General Blue to go in search of Goku, where he would find Goku on the way and try to stop him with his telekinesis. But his ability had no effect on Goku, and Goku would kill him, while he would decide to rest from so much flying despite having hermit seeds stored. A day would pass, and having no information about General Blue, they would hire Tao Pai Pai to take care of Goku, also to avenge his brother Suru, so Goku would be willing to go to the Red Patrol base. And he would meet Tao Pai Pai, with whom he would start fighting. By the way, Goku's power would already hover around 920. Continuing, Tao Pai Pai would use Dodonpa, which would have no effect against Goku, and the latter would do the same technique, but charged with more energy as he trained better the technique as he learned, although Goku would decide to leave him alive as he realized he would die anyway. Later, Goku would attack the Red Patrol base, and some would manage to save themselves, where Goku would keep the sphere they have, and thus take the others with him. After a few hours, Goku would gather the Dragon Spheres to call Shenron. And when Goku is about to make his wish, he would be pushed by a ki attack, and the guy would immediately scream to make Kami-sama young, fulfilling the wish. The guy was Mr. Popo, and Goku would be very angry to see that his wish had been taken away from him, and would try to attack Mr. Popo, but Goku wouldn't get to see his movements no matter how hard he tried to attack him, and would ask him how he does all that, in which Mr. Popo would confidently tell him that by sensing his presence. Goku would close his eyes and tell Mr. Popo to attack him, then Mr. Popo would do it, but Goku could already read his movements, and before killing him, he would ask him about who Kami-sama is. Mr. Popo tells him that he is the god of the earth, and that if he kills him, the spheres could no longer be used. So Goku, without further ado, decides to kill Mr. Popo, and wait one more year for the spheres to work, and he would start training and visiting Chi-Chi from time to time. But one day, Kami-sama would have come down to Earth to take the best fighters of the Earth, which would be Krillin and Yamcha. Kami-sama would tell them the situation, thus these accepting to make a plan to face Goku in the next martial arts tournament. Goku from here would no longer feel much interest in using the spheres, since in the end, he would not be able to make his wish. So after 3 years, Yajirobe, Kami-sama, Krillin, Yamcha, and Nam would meet to face Goku. While on television, they would have reported it so that this would go to fight, so Goku would have a power of 1500, while Kami-sama of 1290, Krillin of 700, and Yamcha of 530, thanks to the training of Kami-sama. Between all of them, they would face Goku, but Yajirobe would back down because of fear, while Kami-sama, Krillin, and Yamcha together would give some complications to Goku, but he would get rid of Nam, and later he would take care of the others, managing to defeat Yamcha and Krillin, and at the same time, he would have difficulties with Kami-sama, so he would charge a Kamehameha to damage him too much, and thus, Kami-sama would be almost on the verge of death, as well as Yamcha and Krillin. Meanwhile, Yajirobe would have thrust his katana at Goku unsuspectingly and would quickly escape in his vehicle. Goku would be losing blood and would eat a hermit seed, but out of desperation, he had grabbed a handful that he would drop some, and thus Kami-sama, Yamcha, and Krillin would have managed to save themselves while Nam would have died. While Nam had died, instantly Goku would quickly fly to Yajirobe, destroying his vehicle along with him. Seeing Kami-sama power, he had let him live to have an upcoming confrontation, considering him a good opponent. On the other hand, the Pilaf gang would have released King Piccolo and would send his sons to cause chaos, but they would not have the mission to kill the martial arts fighters, as Goku had killed several before. Anyway, they would be sent to kill Goku to show who conquers the world. Goku would meet some of them and kill them, where Piccolo would begin to realize it, but he would be just short of gathering the Dragon Spheres. After an hour, they would have them, and Piccolo would make a wish for eternal youth, and then kill Shenron. Goku would feel Piccolo's ki and would go to him, seeing his great resemblance to Kami-sama, but he would tell him that he was Piccolo Daimaku, the evil part of him, and that no one besides him would conquer the world, thus starting a fight between the two, where Goku would have the advantage by far. Piccolo, seeing himself in difficulties, would fuse with his sons, reaching a power of 7,000, giving Goku a beating, almost leaving him on the verge of death. Piccolo, believing that Goku had already died, would leave, while Goku, after a few hours, would eat a hermit seed. Being of high class, he would receive a Zenkai of 7,500, where the next day he would look for Piccolo. Piccolo would be surprised to see Goku alive, but again, they would fight, this time being almost at the same power level. Goku would surprise Piccolo by doing a Super Dodonpa, ending the battle by piercing his chest. Kami-sama would instantly fly at high speed to save his life, but King Piccolo would have ejected an egg for his reincarnation, and would also have ejected other sons before to be safe, and would tell them to merge with their new brother to maintain his legacy and kill Goku. Kami-sama would arrive where Goku was and inquire about Piccolo's presence. Goku would mention to him that Piccolo expelled an egg, saying that his life had not yet come to an end. Goku would tell Kami-sama that he had better go away and get better, like his counterpart did, to have a better battle. Kami-sama would find Piccolo about to be born and take him to the temple to raise him, while also telling his sons that he would train them to later merge with Piccolo. They would accept Kami-sama's proposal. They would spend a few years like this. Chi-Chi had become sentimentally closer to Goku, would be expecting his child. Chi-Chi would have prepared poisoned food, thinking that he had made a mistake by being with someone who kills people. Goku would be unconscious, while Kami-sama would take Chi-Chi and Ox King to the temple to tell them that he already knew what had happened, and that when his son grew up, he would train him to stop his evil father. After another year, Piccolo would have grown up and fused with his sons, reaching a power of 2,000. Kami-sama would have a power of 7,000, Krillin of 5,000, and Yamcha of 4,800, while Goku would have a power of 18,000. A ship would have arrived on Earth, and from it would come out a guy who would call himself Raditz. He would see that not all humanity had been extinguished yet, but by means of his tracker, he would detect a power greater than 15,000, and somewhat frightened he would head there, meeting Kakarot, where being aware that he is high class, he would not challenge him. So, upon meeting him, he would tell him that he is his brother, and that he came to recruit him for a complicated mission, counting on other fellow Saiyans who are also high class. Kakarot would wonder what that means about upper class and lower class, in which Raditz would mention that actually his parents were lower class just like him, and for some reason he was born upper class, which gave him great power. Apparently your power is almost equal to my other most powerful Saiyan partner. This would sound quite interesting for Goku, so Raditz would call his ship. Piccolo would make his appearance in the place, who had already heard everything, and would tell them that when they return, they would regret everything they had done. Raditz would attack him, but he would be easily stopped, since Piccolo had a power of 2,000, while Goku would make a Taioken and get on the ship with Raditz to leave Earth. Meanwhile, Piccolo would return to the temple, and Gohan, already being 4 years old, had trained a lot, having a power of 1,200. After a few days of training, Piccolo would underestimate him, causing him to expel a power of 5,000, and he would be surprised by his great potential, while Chi-Chi would have a power of 400. Kami-sama would rebuild Shenron and search for the spheres to summon him and ask him to release Gohan's hidden powers. Thus, the high-class hybrid Saiyan would grant him a power of 3,000. Kaio-sama, for his part, would have telepathically communicated with Kami-sama and told him that he could take the boy to train with him. In addition, for several years he had been training some of his disciples, who were Tenshinhan, Chiaotzu, Tsuru, Roshi, and Grandfather Gohan. So by means of Uranai Baba, he would take him to the other world, and Gohan, together with Piccolo, Kami-sama, Chi-Chi, Krillin, and Yamcha, would go the way of the snake, although the last three would be helped by the first three, who had greater speed to get there faster. Tenshinhan would have a power of 4,000, Chiaotzu of 12,000, Tsuru, Roshi, and Grandfather Gohan of 6,000, and so they would train for a few months, where Gohan, Piccolo, and Kami-sama would learn the Kaioken, where Piccolo and Kami-sama could increase it up to 4 times, but Gohan, showing a lot of potential for his age, could take it to more than 5 times. On the side of the Saiyans, the 4 would find themselves in a mission in which Goku would help quite a lot, and later, Goku would have a showdown against Vegeta. Both, at their maximum power, would be fairly level, but Goku would be more strategic with the Sanzoken and Ki control, and Goku would charge a powerful Kikoho against Vegeta, while Vegeta charges a Gallic Gun, where Vegeta would end up losing, being surprised that a high-class Saiyan that was sent to Earth is quite powerful. Goku would talk to them about Ki control and Senzu Bean, where he would still have a large amount thanks to Yajirobe not having finished them. So Vegeta, being badly wounded by the Kikoho, would reach a power of 25,000, while realizing that his power had become very great. They decide to return to the planet Frieza, where Goku would have a renewed Saiyan armor, while they would decide to analyze the Hermit seeds to make Hermit pills, but in secret from Frieza, so that he would not discover that they were planning to reveal themselves to him. Thus, they would stop using the recovery chambers for a long time. Meanwhile, on Earth, Dr. Gero had met Tao Pai Pai and 2 other young twins and planned to recruit them to turn them into androids, since Tao Pai Pai managed to survive against Goku by not killing him. Bulma, for her part, would have no plans to confront Goku, since he never hurt her, and although she hasn't heard from him in years, she would wait for any moment to be able to talk to him again. Meanwhile, to Gohan, if it would have been revealed to him who his father is, and that he should not follow his bad example. On the other hand, on Earth, Launch would have gotten a group that plans to exterminate Goku. About 2 years would pass, and Goku would have a power of 150,000. Vegeta would have of 14,000, Raditz of 8,000, and Nappa of 1,000. As for the others, they would no longer continue training with Kaio-sama, having mastered their training. Gohan would have a power of 42,000, Chi-Chi of 5,000, Yamcha of 12,000, Krillin of 15,000, Piccolo of 12,000, Kami-sama of 8,000, Grandfather Gohan, Tsuru, Master Roshi of 2,000, Tenshinhan of 8,000, and Chiaotzu of 22,000. After another 2 months, Frieza, seeing that the 4 Saiyans are getting stronger, decides to send them to conquer a planet, but it would all be a trap, as he and his army would be ready to finish them off. Upon arrival, they would find Frieza's army ready to fight them, and they would realize Frieza's betrayal and that it was sooner than they expected, but they would finish off Dodoria, Zarbon, and the Ginyu Special Forces without any problems. Frieza would mention that he was the one who destroyed planet Vegeta, which would infuriate the other Saiyans, who would attack Frieza together. Frieza would easily dispose of them with his death rays and leave them on the verge of death, but they would recover with the Hermit's seeds. Frieza would notice them and destroy the bag containing them. Only 2 would be saved, while the Hermit's pills would not reach them. Believing it would be an easy mission, Goku and Vegeta would reach a power of 74,000, Nappa 42,000, and Raditz 38,000. Goku and Vegeta would give trouble to Frieza, who would realize that their powers were greater thanks to the seeds they ate. Confident that they have no more, he decides to change to his second form, putting himself above the power of the others and making it difficult for them to fight. With nothing more to lose, he decides to end the lives of Nappa and Raditz, leaving Goku and Vegeta in shock, who would also begin to receive wounds from Frieza, until the moment Frieza would decide to switch to his final form to tell them that they will see who he really is before his time comes. Goku and Vegeta would eat their last remaining seeds and reach a power of 5 million. Goku would tell Vegeta that this is the chance for them to go to Earth to find the Dragon Spheres and become immortal, since the Earth God must have rebuilt the dragon that his evil counterpart destroyed. Vegeta would realize that even with their increased power, they would not be able to defeat Frieza. Once he finishes his transformation, Goku makes a Taiyoken on him, and the 2 escape in their ship. Meanwhile, after a few minutes, Frieza, upon hearing that they are going to Earth, decides to chase them in his ship. After a week had passed, Goku and Vegeta would arrive on Earth, where the other more powerful warriors who were waiting for them would tell them that now they would pay for what they had done. Goku would wonder about the boy accompanying them, where Piccolo would tell him that he is his son, but he would take it upon himself to eliminate him for everything he did. Even so, Goku would expel all his ki, which would be 5 million, leaving the others surprised. Gohan would have a power of 700,000 and could use the Kaioken up to 10 times. Goku would tell them that he is not coming to kill them now, since the guy who destroyed their home planet would soon arrive on Earth and possesses immense power. When they finish him, he will leave the planet together with Vegeta. Piccolo asks about his brother. Goku says that he died together with another partner against Frieza, and that for the moment, he needs the spheres to become immortal and be able to defeat him. Piccolo says that no way would they lend them to him, and after a few minutes, Frieza in his ship tells them that this time they won't escape, and they will regret having fled. And a few minutes later, Frieza would arrive in his ship and tell them that this time they would not escape and would regret having fled. Frieza would draw 20% of his power, being 29 million, putting Goku and Vegeta in difficulties, while Gohan would use the Kaioken by 10, reaching a power of 7 million, which would be useless against Frieza, who would begin to put him in trouble, while Piccolo, with a power of 200,000, and with a Kaioken by 5, that would give him a power of 1 million, he would join the attack, but would be losing energy by the Kaioken. Goku and Vegeta would get up and continue fighting Frieza, where their attempts would prove useless, while Kami, with a power of 150,000, joins the battle using the Kaioken. Meanwhile, the other Earthlings would not attack. Seeing that their fighting power is not comparable, and it complicates them to use the Kaioken, it is worth mentioning that the dead students who are with King Kai have the permission to be one day on Earth. But even so, they would not attack, seeing that their powers do not compare. Until at one point, Goku, seeing his son use the Kaioken, decides to try to do the same technique, and would increase it to about 5 times, and would join it with a Super Kikohu. Thus, his wounded base power was 2,500,000, and with the Kaioken of 12,500,000. And with that energy, he would decide to charge the most powerful Kikohu he has done in his life, trying to risk everything. And he would say that he committed many sins on Earth, and that he would pay everything with his death, where the Super Kikohu would give him a power bonus of up to 80 million, for all the energy that Goku would be accumulating, and he would throw it to Frieza, telling him, "This is for my brother, and my parents disappear." Damn it, the attack would impact on Frieza to make him disappear completely, and Goku would fall very exhausted, while Vegeta, almost without moving, would look worried at his partner since both were of high class, where Bulma would have arrived in a small plane to the place witnessing from afar the battle that was happening, and Bulma, seeing her friend Goku almost dead, feels bad, and tells the others present not to do anything since he gave his life for them to keep them safe from this Frieza, while the others would be hesitating whether to leave Goku alive. But Piccolo would say that maybe they should leave him alive, since they saw that he wasn't like his evil father either, just as Gohan would think the same, and that there would still be a chance. Goku, with the little energy he had left, would talk to Vegeta about Korin Tower and the beans he had left in the tower, so Vegeta, still with energy, would fly immediately thanks to his speed, while Bulma would put Goku to bed, who would have a tremendous body pain with great wounds, and Vegeta after a few minutes would arrive with the beans. Vegeta would take the opportunity to eat a bean, and then quickly give one to Goku, who would recover from everything, and Bulma would hug him telling him that she is glad to see him again, while Goku says that they must revive Nappa and Raditz, and would begin to locate the spheres on the radar, and would manage to gather them, while Piccolo decides to observe him to check that he has no evil intentions, and Goku would ask the dragon to revive Raditz and Nappa and bring them to Earth, so Shenron would fulfill the wish and vanish from the place after fulfilling the wish. Vegeta would have appeared and explained to them everything that happened to them. The four of them were glad that Frieza had died. They would not have to conquer planets, and the four of them would stay and live with Bulma. By the way, Goku would have a Zenkai of 9 million, Vegeta 7 million, and Gohan of 2 million, because he was also exhausted and injured in the battle against Frieza. After a year, King Cold would arrive on Earth, as some soldiers informed him that Frieza had not returned since he went to Earth to chase some Saiyans. But the Saiyans would still not be very friendly with Piccolo, Kami, Chi-Chi, and Gohan, as they still view them with some resentment. So King Cold would send his soldiers to attack the others, but a young boy would have appeared to finish off his soldiers and finish off King Cold with a transformation called Super Saiyan that would surprise the others. The boy would call himself Trunks and talk to Goku to tell him that he is his son from the future. That's right, from Goku and Bulma, since Bulma was the only one who kept her trust before him. Obviously, he would mention it to him since Bulma was waiting for him, and he would tell him about some androids that appeared in his future and ended everyone's lives, except for Gohan, who didn't get along with him despite being half-brothers, but had become Super Saiyan because of Piccolo's death. It should be remembered that Chi-Chi, Krillin, and Yamcha were the only warriors on Earth alive besides Piccolo and Kami, as Tien, Roshi, Yajirobe, Grandpa Gohan, and Chiaotzu were unable to intervene. Only Gohan, in his last battle against the androids, gave his life for him so that Trunks could also become Super Saiyan. But the androids would be stronger than the originals, since they witnessed the battle against Frieza. Plus Goku and Gohan were high class. By the way, Tao Pai Pai is the one who took the role of Android 19. Since Dr. Gero made him as a test, that's why 17 and 18 killed him. In the future, they managed to finish off King Cold without letting him transform. That's why he couldn't become a Super Saiyan. After this, Trunks would return to his future O and wish the others luck, where this time Goku would tell the Earth Warriors what was going to happen, while he and the Saiyans would go to see Bulma to ask her for a machine with augmented gravity and train. Goku would tell Bulma about their son from the future, and they would be happy for the moment, and that their son from the future, they have to help him when they increase his powers. The four Saiyans would start training on the gravity machines that Bulma and his parents built. Meanwhile, Gohan, Chi-Chi, Piccolo, Kami, Yamcha, and Krillin would train in their own way. But Gohan would surpass them all by his great power, so Piccolo and Kami would also try to train the Kaioken to increase it much more, and thus be of better help, as training for Gohan. In that lapse of time, also Goku and Bulma would have gotten married, since as I said before, Bulma was waiting for Trunks. The Saiyans would have also decided to go to planet Frieza to take the Senzu pills they left there last time before facing Frieza, so Bulma could analyze them and create new ones. After 2 years, Goku and Vegeta would have achieved the Super Saiyan transformation, while 5 months later, Raditz and Nappa would have achieved it. Gohan, on the other hand, would also achieve the Super Saiyan, since he was of high class and always dedicated himself to training. Thus, 3 years of training would pass, and the Saiyans would decide to go immediately to the city, while the rest of the warriors would stay in the same place as in the original story, where the android 19, who this time is Tao Pai Pai, with a knife in one hand would pierce Nappa's back, while with the other hand would begin to absorb his energy. This would draw the attention of the others, where instantly Raditz would also be caught by Dr. Gero, who is android 20, as these would be more strategic than the originals after always analyzing Goku in his past. Nappa and Raditz would be on the verge of death, where Gohan and Piccolo would have managed to stop the two androids, while Goku and Vegeta give a Senzu pill to their teammates to recover. Thus, they would begin to extract information from the androids, and Goku would remember Tao Pai Pai, where at the end Dr. Gero would explain everything he has been observing about him and that he will avenge the Red Patrol. Everyone would switch places to fight, where Goku would turn into Super Saiyan to face Tao Pai Pai, while Vegeta will face Gero. Both sides would have an advantage due to their higher energy, as here, Goku would not count on the heart disease by not going to Yardrat. On the one hand, Vegeta would have finished off Gero, while Tao Pai Pai, by keeping some memories of his past life, would use the Taiyoken technique to blind everyone present, and thus escape to go in search of androids 17 and 18. Whereafter, everyone would regain their vision, but would not be able to perceive their Ki being a full android. But suddenly Bulma and Trunks would appear from the future, and Bulma would be surprised to see what her son will be like when he grows up, while Trunks would see the remains of Dr. Gero and realize that he altered the timeline. Bulma would have saved the coordinates of Dr. Gero's lab to go in search of him, so the others would go in his search, where after a few minutes, they would manage to find him, but the androids would have already awakened along with 16, and would kill Tao Pai Pai to be free. Goku would become Super Saiyan and challenge Android 16, while Vegeta would challenge Android 18, and Nappa would challenge 17. 17 and 18 would have a power like that of Perfect Cell, suppressing energy against Super Vegeta, while 16 would have the same power as Cell in his perfect form. But remembering that those Saiyans also went through some Zenkai before, they would have a power close to that of semi-perfect Cell, and Gohan compared to that of imperfect Cell. Since Gohan did not train with a gravity higher than 10, the Saiyans would be losing the battle against the androids. Goku would decide to charge a Super Kikohu to stop them, but they already know that technique and manage to evade it, where 16 would be about to kill Goku with his sonic arms. But Goku manages to make a Taiyoken before this one, and holds an arm of his to throw him away, while 17 and 18 would not be affected by not having made the attack on them. And 17, after knocking down Raditz, Nappa, and also Gohan for intervening, would also knock down Goku, while 18 would have been in charge of stopping Vegeta, Trunks, Yamcha, Krillin, Kami, and Piccolo. While Chi-Chi had not been present to put hope in his son, Android 16 would recover his vision and would approach to kill Goku, but instantly they would have felt another energy approaching the place. Android 16 would regain his vision and approach to kill Goku, but they would immediately sense another energy approaching the area. This one would have the ki of Goku, Frieza, and other warriors that had been analyzed. A new enemy would appear in the battle, stronger than the one in the original story, revealing his true origin. He came from the future because Trunks had killed the androids in his timeline and stolen their time machine to travel to this era. Android 16 would face the monster to prevent it from absorbing the androids, as he didn't want peace to be taken away. Meanwhile, the others would have eaten a Senzu bean, and Cell would fire a Kikoho at Android 16, destroying many parts of his body. Then, he would unsuspectingly absorb Android 17, achieving his semi-perfect form. Vegeta would tell Android 18 to leave the area, but she would be scared by what had just happened. Seeing this, Vegeta, without hesitation, would decide to intervene despite everything seeming lost. Vegeta would be stopped by Cell, who would eventually absorb Android 18 thanks to his speed, greatly increasing his power. Kami would tell Piccolo that the time had come, so Piccolo would fuse with Kami. However, in this version, Piccolo and Kami would have the same power as when Piccolo fused with Nail on Namek, and Kami, being stronger than in the original story, would grant him a power similar to Goku's Super Saiyan 2 during the Majin Buu saga. Even so, Cell would still be slightly stronger. Piccolo, then, would decide to use the Kaioken for 4, gaining a huge advantage over Perfect Cell, who would be humiliated by the immense power. The other Saiyans would be surprised by the great energy increase. Piccolo, using the Kaioken, would launch an energy blast from his palm, causing a hole in Cell, making him bleed and reject the androids he had absorbed. Without wasting time, Piccolo would completely disintegrate him. After the battle, Goku and Trunks would decide to go to Dr. Gero Underground Lab to destroy the present Cell that was still incubating. Vegeta would take the unconscious androids to Capsule Corporation, while Raditz and Nappa would take the remains of 16 to Bulma, who would try to reprogram them to be good. Goku and Trunks would arrive at Capsule Corporation to confirm that they had eliminated the present Cell, and androids 17 and 18 would wake up, wondering what had happened. Bulma would tell them that Vegeta had brought them. Though somewhat annoyed, the androids would decide to leave. Android 18, in a cold manner, would thank Vegeta with a flirty gesture, giving him a slight smile before leaving. Meanwhile, when checking the radar, they wouldn't detect the Dragon Balls, thinking that by fusing Piccolo with Kami, making them one person again, the Dragon Balls had disappeared. Vegeta would mention that the Namekians might have similar Dragon Balls on their planet, possibly even more powerful. With that idea, Goku and Vegeta, after obtaining the coordinates for Namek, would decide to travel there in a ship, which wouldn't take long to arrive thanks to technological advancements. Future Trunks, for his part, would seek out Piccolo to ask him to go to his future to help defeat the androids in his timeline. However, upon meeting, Piccolo would tell him that it's not the pride of a Saiyan to ask for help in such matters, and he would mention the hyperbolic time chamber. Trunks would decide to wait for his father for a more effective training, and a few hours would pass. Meanwhile, on Namek, the Namekians, seeing that Goku and Vegeta were not evil, would agree to help. They would summon Porunga to ask for the first wish to revive those absorbed by Cell, the second to remove the bombs from the androids. Before using the third wish, they would ask if any of the Namekians would be willing to become Kami. Dende would volunteer for this, so Goku would turn their ship into a capsule, and with the third wish, they would ask to be transported to Kami Lookout. Thus, Dende would present himself to everyone, and Trunks would mention the hyperbolic time chamber to Goku. Goku, thrilled, would enter to train with his son, undergoing a grueling training that would benefit them both. The two would reach the Super Saiyan 2 transformation. The next day, Trunks would say his goodbyes to return to his timeline, where he would easily defeat the androids and later Cell. In the present, Vegeta would also enter the hyperbolic time chamber with Nappa to reach Super Saiyan 2, as would Piccolo with Gohan, so they wouldn't fall behind. Finally, Raditz would enter with Nappa, who had already trained once, so that Raditz could level up with the other elite Saiyans. After this period of peace, Earth had forgotten Goku past misdeeds due to the time they spent in peace, as it was he who stopped the threat that absorbed people. Vegeta and Android 18 would meet again and have another fight, in which Vegeta would be superior. She, in a defiant tone, would say it wasn't bad at all, while Vegeta would bring up the kiss from the other day. Smiling, Android 18 would ask if he liked it, which would make the Saiyan Prince nervous, causing him to tell her to shut up. Android 16 would be rebuilt by Bulma, and his mission to kill Goku would be erased. On another note, Raditz and Launch would have met, and Raditz would like the woman tough attitude. A year later, both couples would have children. Vegeta and Android 18 would have a son named Tarbal, while Raditz and Launch would have a son named Bardock, in honor of Raditz's father. The interaction between Chi-Chi and Goku would have returned to normal, but they would remain just friends after Chi-Chi left, since Goku was with Bulma and couldn't betray her. The same went for Gohan, as Trunks would have told him that in his future, he didn't get along well with his counterpart either, and that in the present, he should learn to value people and forgive them, as they shared the same blood, and everyone eventually regrets their actions. Over time, Denda would have improved the Dragon Balls, even better than in the original story, removing the restrictions on the number of years and how many times a person could be revived. With these new Dragon Balls, Tien, Master Roshi, Chaozu, and Tsuru would have been revived, while Grandpa Gohan, having reached his limit, would have started working in the afterlife as originally intended and declined the offer to be revived. Meanwhile, the Saiyans Goku, Vegeta, and Raditz would train their new children, though clearly, Trunks and Tarble would be fierce competition as both were of elite class, and their parents also competed fiercely. Bardock, being of lower class from Raditz and Launch lineage, would lag behind them, but he would still have the ability to transform into a Super Saiyan like the others. Nevertheless, Gohan would have decided to attend high school to vary his life beyond training, 7 years after the events with the androids and Cell. Videl and Gohan would get along, but Gohan would be colder and more distant, leading Videl to show a similar attitude, realizing that things were not easy. This would lead to Gohan teaching her how to fly, though he would also decide to teach her some techniques ahead of time. A martial arts tournament would soon take place, and the others would decide to sign up, eager to see Goku in a new light. The tournament, which had not been destroyed since the battle between Piccolo and Goku in the original story didn't occur, would be expanded thanks to the money they earned and the audience they gained through Mr. Satan popularity. In the junior division, there would be a battle between cousins, Trunks and Bardock, where Trunks would easily win. In the final round, Trunks would face off against Tarble, who was also strategic, having trained with his warrior mother, who had analyzed Goku past battles, up to his fight with Frieza. They would opt to use their Super Saiyan forms to surprise the audience, and in the end, Trunks would win the match. In the adult tournament, there would be a variety of participants, including the Saiyans, Tien Shinhan, and Chiaotzu, who had become much stronger than in the original timeline due to their time training with King Kai. Though they had their limits, Tien would face Krillin, and Piccolo would fight Supreme Kai, who, despite having greater power in this version, would surrender due to Piccolo knowledge as Kami. Then, Videl would face Spopovich in a battle similar to the original, but when in trouble, she would use a Kamehameha to stop him. Next, Gohan and Kibito would step onto the platform, and Kibito would ask him to reveal his true power. Gohan would only transform into a Super Saiyan, but Kaioshin, catching him off guard, would manage to stop him, and Spopovich and Yamu would steal his energy before he could react, escaping with the radar. Here, Gohan, in his Super Saiyan form, would already be stronger than his Super Saiyan 2 counterpart from the original story. Afterward, Kibito would heal Gohan, and Goku, the other Saiyans, and Piccolo would decide to pursue the henchmen, though they would tell Trunks, Bardock, and Tarble to stay behind, as everything would be fine. Gohan and Kibito would later catch up with the others and tell them about Majin Buu, and upon landing on the rocky terrain, they would witness Bibidi killing his henchmen before teleporting inside with Dabura through his magic, intending to lure the others to stop him. Pui Pui would attack, but he would be stopped by Piccolo, and the group would enter the ship to stop Bibidi, who at the time had convinced Dabura to give up his energy, as they were close to completing what was left of the egg. Yakun would come out to fight, and Babidi would transport them to a dark place, where Gohan would defeat him by making him explode. Next, an exhausted Dabura would come out to fight, and would face Raditz, who, in his Super Saiyan form, would humiliate the King of Darkness, laughing at his low power, and telling him it would be his end. Dabura, taking advantage of Raditz's overconfidence, would spit on him, turning him to stone. Goku would then decide to fight Dabura, and would end his life. Meanwhile, Majin Buu would be about to hatch from the egg, and everyone would be transported outside the ship, where Supreme Kai would be shocked that they weren't able to stop it in time. Majin Buu would emerge from the egg, and Nappa, underestimating his appearance, would face him by transforming into Super Saiyan 2. Nappa would land many hits on Majin Buu, but Buu would get up as if nothing had happened. Nappa would then try his volcano explosion attack, but Majin Buu would regenerate from the attack and turn Nappa into chocolate, eating him. Since Vegeta hadn't fought yet, he would decide to turn Super Saiyan 2 and get serious in the battle. The two would fight on equal ground, shocking everyone, and Vegeta would hit Majin Buu with a final flash, disintegrating half of his body. Majin Buu would regenerate from this, and, growing even more furious, would begin to release more energy, creating a massive explosion in the area. Kibito would barely manage to teleport Gohan and Supreme Kai to safety at their request for training with the Z-Sword. Meanwhile, Goku, Raditz, and Vegeta, who had been near the explosion, would suffer some injuries, while Piccolo, using Kaioken, would escape and declare he would stop playing around and finish Majin Buu with Kaioken. However, Majin Buu, still enraged, would expel his evil half, which would start fighting him while the others looked on in confusion. Majin Buu would then attempt to turn his evil half into chocolate, but the evil half would reflect the ray back at him, turning Majin Buu into chocolate and eating him, transforming into Super Buu. Piccolo, using a Kaioken enhanced by 10 times, would decide to face him, giving Super Buu trouble due to his power increase over the years. However, Super Buu would manage to absorb Raditz when Piccolo was caught off guard, using his Super Saiyan 2 power to put Piccolo in a difficult position. Super Buu would then absorb Piccolo, becoming even more powerful. The monster, feeling completely in control and influenced by Raditz's Saiyan mentality, would decide to give Goku and Vegeta a day to come up with a plan to defeat him, with the condition that the two he had absorbed would die if they failed. He would then leave to continue killing people and turning others into chocolate. Meanwhile, Goku and Vegeta would head to Kami Lookout to train for a day and see if their new strength would be enough. On the other hand, Bulma and the others would return to Capsule Corporation, and Goku would feel relieved to see Bulma alive with the group. However, he would tell them that it wasn't safe to stay there and urge them to go to the lookout, where he would explain things further. And he would tell them that it's not safe to be there, that they should go to the temple, where things would be explained in more detail. After a few hours, they would all meet at the place, and Goku, along with Vegeta, Trunks, Bardock, and Tarball, would begin training to gain new power. Meanwhile, on the Supreme Planet, Gohan would have already released the Z-Sword and would be training with it, until after a few hours, it breaks when testing the Kachin metal. Then, the Supreme Kai of 15 generations ago would appear, explaining his past and suggesting to unlock Gohan hidden powers to face Majin Buu, as he had now become much more powerful than before. As for Goku and Vegeta, they would have managed to reach the Super Saiyan 3 transformation, while the other children would only achieve Super Saiyan 2 at best. The Saiyans would finish their training and look for Super Buu Ki to face him. Thus, Goku and Vegeta would decide to confront him while instructing the children to stay at the temple to protect the others. As a last resort, they could trap Majin Buu in the hyperbolic time chamber and destroy it. But Roshi, on his part, would mention the Mafuba, so the children would decide to train in that technique as a last alternative in case Goku and Vegeta were to lose. The two elite class Saiyans would find Super Buu and transform into Super Saiyan 3, having perfected the transformation through their training. Together, they would manage to slightly move Super Buu, who, with a smirk, would underestimate them. Goku says not everything is lost and uses a Super Kokohu on him, which does manage to hurt him. But Super Buu, having Piccolo knowledge, would use the Kaioken to counter it and attack the two Saiyans. On the other hand, Gohan would have finished the ritual, and Kibito would teleport him to Earth to give hope in the battle. Here, Mystic Gohan would have power far greater than before, and in an instant, he would arrive at the battle, surprising Goku and Vegeta by surpassing their Super Saiyan 3 powers. Here, Gohan would proceed to humiliate Super Buu with his power, but the enemy wouldn't hold back and would use the Kaioken against him. However, using it made it harder for him to regenerate. Gohan says he can also use that technique and employs it while in his mystic form, causing less strain than it would in Super Saiyan form. Minutes would pass and Super Buu would have no choice but to try to absorb him, but before that, he would strike Goku and Vegeta, knocking them out of the fight. Gohan would be distracted by what happened to them, and Super Buu would successfully absorb him. The Elder Supreme Kai then says he miscalculated and removes his Potara earrings, telling Kibito to give them to Goku and Vegeta so they can fuse and gain new power. Beforehand, the Supreme Kai and Kibito would remove their own earrings to see the results. Kibito, wasting no time, teleports to them and, first with his powers, heals them, then gives them the earrings, quickly explaining their use so they can defeat Buu. Kibito would teleport back to his planet, while Goku and Vegeta, thinking of their families, decide to put on their earrings, giving birth to Vegito, a much more powerful Vegito than the original, since this time they are two elite-class Saiyans, much more leveled than before. Vegito would immediately transform into Super Saiyan, knowing that Super Buu now has added the power of Mystic Gohan and the knowledge of the Kaioken. Super Vegito would begin beating up Super Buu, and Buu would have little chance to defend himself. Vegito would start to underestimate him, launching powerful attacks to humiliate him. But he was provoking him on purpose to give him the chance to absorb him and save the others. After a while, Super Buu would attempt to absorb Vegito, but Vegito, in time, would activate an energy barrier to protect himself. The children, watching from the temple, would see what was happening, and 18 and her son Tarball, worried about Vegeta, would decide to fly there, while Trunks, suspecting they had a plan, would also join them, and Bardock would ensure he mastered the Mafuba technique. Super Buu wouldn't have changed appearance, and Tarball, without warning, would kick him for absorbing his father. Super Buu would be about to react, but meanwhile, inside him, Vegeta would have lost the fusion, and the two Saiyans, confused by what happened, would decide to search for the others' pods. The rest is filler, as in the manga, they arrive immediately. First, they would remove Gohan's pod, and Super Buu would pause from what he felt. Moving away, he decides to dive deeper into his own body. Android 18, Trunks, and Tarball wouldn't stand idly by and decide to attack Super Buu to give Goku and Vegeta time to save the others, assuming they were unaffected. Later, Raditz and Piccolo pods would be removed, while Super Buu was about to attack the Saiyans, but due to the blows he was receiving from outside, he was at a disadvantage. Vegeta would laugh, seeing that he couldn't fight on both fronts at the same time, and Goku, with a curious look, would ask Super Buu what would happen if he destroyed the Majin Buu he had absorbed, and fires an energy blast that disintegrates him. Outside, Super Buu would begin suffering a new transformation, while Goku and Vegeta, along with the pods, would try to escape from inside Buu as quickly as possible. They would manage to get out with the others he absorbed, and Super Buu would revert to Kid Buu. Without wasting any time, Goku decides to turn into Super Saiyan 3 and finish him off with a Kikohu for having messed with his brother, and thus the threat of Majin Buu would be over. On the other hand, Kibito would have appeared using instant transmission to congratulate both Saiyans on what had happened. The Saiyans would decide to return the Potara earrings since they no longer served any purpose. Afterwards, all that would be left was to gather the Dragon Balls, and with Bulma Radar and Goku alternate one, they quickly gathered them to summon Shenron. Their first wish would be to restore the damage Majin Buu had caused to some cities, and the second would be to revive all those who had died since his appearance, bringing Nappa back to life. After this, Gohan and Videl would start getting to know each other better, while peace would reign for a while. A year after the events with Majin Buu, Bulma would be celebrating her birthday with everyone present, since, being the wife of Goku, the strongest, who had saved them from both Frieza and Majin Buu in the past, they were there as a sign of respect. Meanwhile, in the universe, the god of destruction would have awoken to carry out his duty of extinguishing dinosaurs and destroying useless planets. He would return to his planet, where he and the Oracle Fish would remember that, in the future, he would face a Super Saiyan god. Whis would inform him that Frieza had destroyed planet Vegeta, but 4 Saiyans who were still alive were residing on Earth. One of them, named Kakarot, also known as Goku by the Earthlings, had killed Frieza using a technique called Kikohu, along with another technique called Kaioken, which belonged to King Kai. However, instead of learning it from him, Goku learned it from his first son, as well as from the Namekians, who now form a single being. Later on, he and his Saiyan companions achieved a transformation called Super Saiyan, and both he and Prince Vegeta attained Super Saiyan 3 while facing a being who once troubled the Supreme Kais. Beerus then decided to go to Earth, and after about 35 minutes, they would arrive, where the others were informed in advance by the Kais. The Saiyans would respectfully welcome Beerus and Whis, though somewhat afraid, and Vegeta, recognizing the cat, would remain cautious. Bulma, however, believed they were friends from old missions and invited them to join the party. They gladly accepted, but not before Beerus asked them about a Super Saiyan god, leaving the other Saiyans curious, as they had no knowledge of such a being. The party would go smoothly until Trunks suggested to his father that they should ask Shenron about the Super Saiyan god and surprise his mother with it. Goku agreed without thinking, so they used the Dragon Balls to summon Shenron and ask him about the Super Saiyan god. Shenron explained that this Saiyan didn't exist, but could be temporarily summoned through a ritual involving 5 pure-hearted Saiyans who must channel their energy into one. Goku agreed to be the chosen one, and Vegeta, Nappa, Raditz, Gohan, and Trunks participated in the ritual. Goku's appearance changed, and the others could no longer sense his Kai. They began a battle filled with powerful energy blasts and high-speed attacks. If we refer to the Beerus from the movie, in the Japanese version he claimed to have used 1/8 of his power, equivalent to 12.5%, whereas the English version mistakenly said it was 70%. Here, Goku would force Beerus to use 35% of his power. Clearly, in the anime, this is incalculable, as it doesn't rely on specific numbers. In one of his attempts to end the battle, Beerus used a sphere of destruction to see if Goku could counter it, and Goku combined his Kamehameha with the Kikohu. This technique made it difficult for Goku to push the sphere back, so as a last resort, he used a triple Kaioken, causing the energy ball to explode and hit Beerus with the blast. However, Beerus remained unscathed, while Goku was left exhausted and fell unconscious to the ground. Beerus approached Goku and the others, acknowledging that the fight wasn't bad, and declared that Earth would remain intact for having provided a decent battle and good food. He and Whis then returned to their planet, while the others went back to peace. Sometime later, Whis visited Bulma to enjoy some good food. Goku, upon learning this, asked Whis to train him after discovering that he was a martial arts master. Thus, Goku left with Trunks, while Gohan and Videl had their daughter Pan. Later, Vegeta and his son Tarball, along with Raditz and Nappa, also joined to train with Whis. Sorbet and Tagoma arrived on Earth after learning about the Dragon Balls, and they snatched them from the Pilaf gang. They summoned the dragon to make their first wish, which was to revive Frieza. Since Dende had made some adjustments to the Dragon Balls, Frieza was resurrected with his complete body. Meanwhile, for the other 2 wishes, Mai, frightened, shouted for the dragon to make Frieza unconscious, and Shu asked for 1,000,000 Zeni. Thus, they deprived the soldiers of the chance to revive King Cold as well, and they decided to leave Earth in case someone else came to stop them. Frieza awakened aboard the ship, and the others told him what had happened with Goku, including his fight against Majin Buu and his transformation into a Super Saiyan. Frieza decided to train for 4 months to seek revenge, considering that he would be in his final form, as he was when he last died. During their training, the Saiyans had already achieved Super Saiyan Blue, and after those 4 months, Jocko would have arrived on Earth to warn Bulma that Frieza would arrive in an hour with 1,000 soldiers. Bulma then tried to contact Whis using a strawberry cake and insisted, since Goku didn't have instant transmission. Whis eventually agreed to help and prepared to go with his students, but wouldn't travel too fast, as some could get lost in space if they let go. Jocko had learned that Bulma's husband was the Saiyan sent to stop him in the past, and he was somewhat shocked. Bulma called Piccolo, Gohan, and the other warriors to gather and await Frieza's arrival. Once gathered, they managed to defeat the 1,000 soldiers, while Mystic Gohan and Piccolo, using Kaioken times 10, fought Frieza to buy time. By joining forces, they managed to move him a little. Frieza, seeing Gohan, remembered Goku and decided to transform into his golden form to make quick work of them. He gave them such a beating that they were left unable to fight. Androids 18 and 16 tried to help, but they meant nothing to Frieza. By the way, 16 had been modified over time, so his body could withstand powerful attacks. The other Earthlings also failed in their attempts to stop Frieza, and Bulma decided to step out and shout at him, calling him a scoundrel. Frieza was about to shoot a beam at Bulma, but was vaporized in time by the light from Whis' arrival. Frieza was shocked by Beerus' presence, while Goku realized how close Bulma had been to being hit. He transformed into Super Saiyan Blue and began to unleash more power, declaring that no one touches his Bulma. Vegeta, seeing 18 injured, also transformed into Super Saiyan Blue with even more power. Here, Golden Frieza had better control of his form due to training in his original state, but without taking turns, Goku and Vegeta attacked him instantly, and Frieza couldn't read either of their movements. Meanwhile, Tarbell helped his mother, 18, recover with a Senzu Bean, as she had been affected by an enemy far stronger than her. The others also began to recover and watch the magnificent battle unfold, witnessing the new divine power of the Super Saiyan. Goku, with a Kamehameha, would exterminate Frieza, while Vegeta would kill Sorbet to prevent him from escaping. With this, the others would be excited that this time, Frieza had been defeated by someone stronger. Meanwhile, 18 and Bulma, happy, would brag that Vegeta and Goku fought for them, causing them to blush. They would also decide to stay on Earth to take a break from so much training and spend time with their families, while Gohan would decide to go train with Whis to avoid being useless in another situation. At the same time, Goku would grow fond of his granddaughter, Pan. Then, 8 months would pass, during which the others except the children would have returned to their training, as the children wanted to train on their own for the time being. Champa and Vados would arrive on Beerus Planet and propose a food competition, where the food from Earth and Universe 7 would surprise them both. Because of this, Champa would propose a tournament between 5 participants in exchange for the Super Dragon Balls they had been collecting. The participants for Universe 7 would be Goku, Vegeta, Gohan, Piccolo, and 18. So they would return to Earth to discuss the tournament, and Goku would ask Bulma to make a Super Dragon radar. Meanwhile, Vegeta would recruit 18 for his team, and Gohan would recruit Piccolo. The next day, Bulma would confirm that the Super Dragon radar wasn't detecting any balls, which would be because they weren't at the center of the universe. However, Goku would mention that while he was away from Earth, he had investigated the palace of Zuno, a very wise individual to whom they could ask about it. So, in a fast ship, they would head there, and this time Bulma would carefully specify the questions she had. The first would be to learn everything about the Super Dragon Balls, the second would be where the center of the universe is, and the third would be Goku asking how they should summon the dragon. Zuno would reply that they must say the necessary phrases in the language of the gods. After these 3 questions were answered, they would return to Earth. The next day, Goku, Vegeta, and Gohan would train for 3 years in the hyperbolic time chamber